Kanoi wanyai tabenhuka nyasi pano pakanoi wanyai ndini sangwa dzisipiwe kachidza mapfumo ewo kamu tiri kukumirirai pindai mumba mukamutikuranzei okwamutoko mabuja pindai tikukuranzei ndisangwa dzenyu ndagweda nyasi tinavo arendo wedu nyasi Jessie mainini mauya neiko haiwa tauya nawo pano aiwa regai titimire muchimbopinda ndiri kuona there are 6 people following us by YouTube and please like and share so that tione takawanda. Ndiri kukumirirai pamacomments paonapa vanhu vari kupinda mubroadcast pindai tikukanudzei kamunyasi uno pano pane makuwerere murendo weidi nyasi ndabva ndatoita kumuti tsiku bva ndauya naye ndikati uyai mainini mutinyepe shamwari yangu Jessie Muzvidzwa ndiye murendo wedu nyasi pano kunopindai tokudaidzai kana mapinda mabva manyora kuti ndini nhingi ndiri kuteera ndiri kwakati kana muri kuNew York motinyepa kamuti muri kuNew York wari kuLondon wari kuSouth Africa wari kuUK wari kuAustralia because I do have a lot of followers wari kugara kunzvimbo dzakasiyana saka ndiri kuda kukudaidzai uyo makusha motapinda sangwadzi moroi imi wamukusha moroi baba mukuru aiwa pindai tinawo warendo wari pano wakakumirirai tikudaidza kamwe wari kwamutoko vanhu vari kwanyamukoho kusvika kubhodha kwese uko nepakati papese pindai sangwadzi auya pano nyasi musosvondo tinosangana pano kamutichitandara naiba aiwa ndizvozvo chaizvo uyai mabuja wese wana nzou wana shumba wana nhari wana soko nana soko stinawo wana namhofu nana chihera mese pindai ndakakumirirai pano. Alright, manje Jessie tokutambira pano pachirongwa chedu pakanoi wanyai dhiya ndipo panditinosangana pano mabuja ese newamwe wese wakundotiteera munoziva kamunyaya yemapodcast unobva wandoita ushamwari newese kunoti akuona tikuteeri vanhu wakawanda tinoda kukutambira pano pakanoi wanyai nyasi tinoda kuti upinde mudariro umorodzi vanhuwa pamutoko tine custom yatinoita kana munhu auya anozi tokutambirai tokupindisai mumba mopinda mumba tokupai mvura yekunwa monwa mvura kana tapedza kudaro tochite mochitinyepa kana tichiti kunyepa toita kutitaurire wotitaurira kuti iwewe unonzani unobva kupi wakanyora bhuku rako rinonzani mutupo wako chipa kuti kwedu tinomhoresa vanhu nemutupo saka pindawo kwaidzi vanhu vari kutiteera tozoti totaura nyaya yedu nyasi
mazviita mbazviita sangwadzi spiwe tinoti kanoi
ende wagona wabva wandotigonera kuti kanoi ndizvozvo chaizvo kuti kanoi kuti mhoroi.
Okay, ini zita rangu neitwa Jessie Muzvidzwa and mutupo wangu ndinoyera nzou tinonzi wachihoro ndinobva kumarondera asi ndakazvarwa nekukurira kumanyika saka ini ndozviona kunga ndiri mumanyika.
Kubva inini ndiri achihoro naijesi unozviziva bakani asi isiso tiri wana achihoro tiri nhari mune ndoro asi ndinoziva vasikana
varume vanonzi une ndoro kwedu
tisu vangu uri mainini shuwa aiwa tinozvifai una tatosanga kuona zvatinotaura kuti pamutoko tinomhoresana nevanhu nemutupo that is how kubatanidza mutupo kwatinoita manje from now on ndatova maiguru zvechokwadi handiitika
tapara
that is wonderful. Aiwa wati wakanyora bhuku rako rinonzi
Okay, so buku randakanyora, which was a collaboration nevamwe co-authors, rinonzi Broken Crayons Can Still Color.
Okay.
So iroro tantine a visionary author, anonzi Coach Stacy Bryant, and then there are 20 other authors waka contributor into the anthology.
Okay, Saka, your book is really an anthology. And let me direct this conversation now, because it's a bestseller for Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Which is fabulous. Well, that means a lot, because credibility yenyu sema authors haiwa tinobva tangoziva kuti awa ishasha idzi maonaka. The one that I saw on Amazon, it says volume 2. Paka volume 1 makanyora muri vangani?
So volume 1 rakanyorwa nevanhu 10, but vanhu 10 iwavo, the only common denominator was the visionary author. And then the visionary author decided, but you know what, out of the feedback that was coming from volume 1, there was need to do a volume 2 and collect more stories so that people can get to share their brokenness. So the second volume, Yanka Yanima, different authors, but along the same lines of sharing stories that are similar to life issues pertaining to what people had to overcome.
I found the title very, very intriguing, because even before you can explain it to anyone, you get the feeling kuti broken crayons still color. And what it means is, like, it doesn't matter. A bend in the road is not the end of the road, of kind of story. Mumwe nemumwe ane nyaya yake yaanotaura. And dzimwe dzenguva tinokanganwa kuti everybody's story is very unique. Ndinoziva kuti if you tell people kuti you can write a book, you can write a story, unoshaya kuti ndinoambira papi. But it's not always the story of glory, I did well. Some of the most beautiful stories, they come from the brokenness. Yeah. Like you said, Ipapa kuti, when you see a crayon, it still colors beautiful paintings, beautiful colors, right? But even if it's broken, it can still paint.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yes, you're correct. And just to emphasize what you're saying, I don't know whether they can see that.
Yes.
You can see this box with crayons. So the collection of stories, it was like people in a big box, right? You have the ones that are not broken, you have the broken ones. So if I was to break this one, right, I can still color with it, despite the fact that it's broken. So just because a crayon is broken, it doesn't mean it can't serve its purpose. And that is the very same thing with people, that no matter how broken you are, you still have a greater purpose in life. And the most important thing when we talk about how successful one is, a lot of people tend to look at the financial aspects or even material things. But after you've been through an experience, you look at how you were able to pull yourself out from a dark hole, right? That is success. And that is what this resembles. That despite how beaten, torn you are, you can still be a great person contributing to humanity.
Oh, that is so beautiful. That is just so beautiful. To me, today's Sunday, it's almost like a preaching to me and to maybe all the other people who are listening. We doubt ourselves a lot of times. And I think, I don't want to steal your thunder. I think also, by putting it down, you are saying something. It's a good thing you brought the crayons, and I have mine here. Mine is not a crayon, but a color. Just because it's broken, it can still color a beautiful pink, if you can
beautiful
see.
Colors. So, look at that.
Yeah. So that's how we are as individuals, and I think it goes to speak to many people in their lives. And brokenness comes in different
I'm telling
manners.
You.
And I haven't read your book. I didn't manage to order it and read it on time. But tell us some of the snippets of the brokenness in that beautiful collage of colors that was
Okay,
painted by
so
these various women? Are they all women or men and women?
no, in the end, initially, I think the first project was female, but
Okay.
then the men came along and say, look, we want to be part and parcel of
Yeah.
this great initiative and project. So I think we have about 4 men who contributed, and amazing stories.
Yeah.
But I just want to say that the anthology, okay, is a collection of, I want to look at them as testimonies and lessons of how people overcame their brokenness. But I think when you read that book, you get a plethora of emotions. To be
Yes.
honest with you, with one story, you are crying. One, you are laughing. One, you are angry. One, you are full of gratitude for your own life. And then others, they evoke anger for the pain that you have not even caused the person. So, but above all, the thin line in all of them is people overcame what they were going through. So there's an element of hope, an element of strength, and an element of, just people able to reflect that, you know what, if somebody can overcome this trauma, then personally I can also overcome. So I feel that the timing for the book was right, because it's just after post-COVID. A lot of people are going through mental health issues, and the stories, so they will cover from childhood trauma. Some were sexually abused, others have been in prison, others are dealing with shame, suffering. And so you can actually reflect, maybe directly or indirectly, through the people you've interacted with. You're able to connect with the stories in the book.
I think that is really true. And during COVID, we can all say it's about 2 years when we went through this 24 months of this very changed life-changing kind of thing. But it's almost like it was a decade of us going through this whole metamorphosis, this whole process. It's only 2 years, but out of those 2 years, if each and every one person reflects what it did to you, some people came up with their best lives during the past 2 years, the COVID.
Yeah.
And some people were totally torn and devastated, and some even died. So there's two sides to everything. Nothing lasts the same. Nothing is like that the same. It always changes. Nothing is as constant as change. And now that it's over, we are at a different space altogether, and moving on, right?
Yeah.
Coming to your story, I know it's a whole bunch of people. It's an anthology. And tell me about your story.
Okay, so mainly my story was dealing with, what can I call it? Loss, failure, hardships, financial hardships. So the reason why I was motivated to write about that was, if you look at our day-to-day life, it's easy to talk about your successes, but once it becomes a failure, there is this negative connotation on it. And so as an entrepreneur, and I'm sure you've seen the most successful people have failed so many times, but you find when they share the story of failure, it's always maybe one line or a paragraph, right? So I decided, let me go deeper into every emotion I went through, the journey that I sailed through, the shame that I had to face, because society has taught us, when you fail, it is your fault, it is your problem, you are wrong. And even the education system, you see kuti it's structured around kuti munhu ukafoira upenyu hwako hwatoparara, right? And but ukana uri kupasa, you are rewarded and you keep going up and up and up. And yet life is not like that. Life, the best lessons are learned out of failure. And the best character, the best version of a person is built out of failure. And I actually believe my journey brought the best version out of me. And the person that I am today, I'm actually prouder of me now than when I was high ranking with all the titles, the successes, and everything. So my focus was on that if anyone is going through this journey, do not despise the process. That is the best journey for greatness. So it was more to strengthen the people that are going through that and say, you know what? There's nothing wrong with failing in something. The most important thing, get up and go.
Jessie, stop right there. First and foremost, I'd like to congratulate you, Dr. Muzvidzwa, not an honorary one. You actually did it. I've known you for a long, long time. And when I saw that, I was like, oh my goodness, Jessie, you did it. You went and did it. You did your PhD and you passed it. Congratulations. Tell us about your story. I know you from about 20 years ago, and I've been part of your life to a large extent. And but I'm listening to all these life lessons you're giving us, and which are maybe in your book, which is what you're trying to say in your book. Tell us about your story, because these people are saying, okay, where did you fail? Who is she? What did she do? Angaita Chiko, where did she fail? Tell us, where you started, when you got into business, what happened?
Okay, so anyone who's known me, I've always been like an A student. I have always been selling high. I was a banker for 20 years. And I can tell you, one of the greatest bankers. I've done projects that are still standing and are the most profitable for the bank right now. So my life was always on an upscale. I even had an opportunity to go and work at Wells Fargo in the US, being mentored by one of the vice president of Wells Fargo Bank, a female. And because of that, it was under the Fortune 500 mentorship program for women. And so I was always a high flyer, right? And then I came into business. My business, I built it to, it would do like $1 million turnover a year, right? Which was really good for a small market in my country. And great business. But then, obviously, things happened, and then you lose your clout. I found myself getting, really depressed. And I just felt, look, I can't do this anymore. It's taking my time, and I want a change in life. So the business, I totally let it go, and it fell to the ground.
But wasn't that because of the economic situation in Zimbabwe?
Yeah,
it had nothing to do with you.
Yeah, so the economics situation contributed. But I personally believe that if I had a mentor at that particular time who could just uplift me, it wouldn't have gone the way it went. But then one thing that people don't realize is when you go through grieving, people think grieving it's only when you lose someone. Even when you lose a business, you grieve, you go through the whole process, maybe even worse, because you're thinking of the hopes you had, the dreams, and everything that you contributed to. And remember, you've got a market and the people who have high expectation of you. So that whole process for me, when that happened, and I felt I didn't have a support system because I now relocated to a different country, and there was no like family and all that. So I realized my grieving took a different note, and it almost went into depression because the pain was, I've never felt so much pain. And you don't even know how you're going to recover. You're thinking the losses. I've lost so much money. How am I going to recover? Then what am I going to do? And because of that journey, I thought, let me share with others that, what, you can go through that, but that's not the end. I actually believe where your pain is that is where your story is, and that is where your success is going to be. So I had to embrace, I had to accept, but it took me time, almost 2 years, 3 years, to accept that this is it. I need to move on. So that journey, because of the pain that I went through, I thought I could also help somebody and
Yes.
motivate somebody else.
That's powerful, because we all have gone through stuff like that. Loss, like you said, it could be a person. It could be a child. It could be a member of family, a lover, a family, a husband, or whatever. Panama losses are one, and sometimes they're compounded. It's like this loss, a personal loss, a family loss. And it's like, why me, God? And this and it's kind of difficult to dig yourself out from that kind of stuff, right? So, what finally pulled you out of there?
I think initially, you go through the pity party. Why me? Because like you're saying, I went from one loss to another, and every time I'm like, me again, me. It's like you begin to attract that loss.
Negativity.
Yeah, in a way. So then I say to myself, I realized that the only person that can pull themselves out of that is me. No one can help you when you are in a deep end. It is you, and it has to be you who can pull yourself out. So to kickstart my healing process, I went to complete my PhD. I started in 2011, and it took me 7 years to actually do it, which was a long time, and that was because of the back and forth I was going through. But then I decided, look, I'm going to go for it, and I think that was my first positive step to pulling myself out. And coming and writing also this book had a healing effect to it.
Yeah.
I realized that as I was writing my contribution, to be honest with you, this was the most difficult collection that people went through, because these are real life scenarios and situations. So there were times when we had deadlines, and then we would meet as a group, and everyone would be like, you know what, I haven't finished. I can't even read the first paragraph. I can't even review it. And that's how painful. I couldn't even review mine for weeks on end. And every time when I would read one paragraph and stop, because that pain was still inside me, of what I had experienced. But part of the process of pulling myself out was having the courage to write it out. And you know what? Once something is written, it becomes authentic, and then you would have overcome your major challenge and trauma that you've gone through. So I realized after completing it, I was able to. One of the things I can say part of the healing process is you first have to forgive yourself for going through what you went through. Because if you start looking at other people pointing fingers, it's not going to happen. And once you forgive yourself and accept that, you know what, this is not the end of me, this is just the beginning, then you are able to forgive other people and then move on with your life. So that is what I had to go through for me to come out of that.
Do you have the book right there?
I don't have the hard copy. Sorry, I'm waiting. The copies have been
Okay,
shipped.
but do you have manuscripts? Do you think you can read a bit of your book?
If on my phone I can access it. But
okay. We should have talked about
it's there.
it.
I've got it on Kindle right now there, but I'm using the same gadget, so I'm thinking, how do I do this?
Yeah, and your daughter is not there for you to use a Kindle.
She is there, but does she have? I don't know whether she bought my copy yet. So But
I mean,
definitely
also,
I have it. But if I can switch to Kindle, but then it means you're just going to hear my voice without.
yeah, and it might drop, and
Yeah.
this technology. Okay, no problem. But while we're at it, also, it's amazing how you're talking about I knew your business and what you were doing, and
Hmm.
but sometimes you people don't celebrate themselves for the things that they've done. I
Yeah.
knew you when you were working at the bank, and how fantastic you were doing, and you were younger too. You're a
Yeah.
young woman
Yeah.
and doing
Yeah.
extremely
Yes.
well. And
Mm.
and again, you have a very gifted child. Your only child is now a medical doctor, right?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
those things, why didn't they propel you to say, hey, this is not doing well, but I've done well in this and that. Isn't that amazing how sometimes you just are swarmed with all the negative things, or maybe you focus on something and it swallows you, and you are thinking of your business and not really thinking of all these other things, that positives which were happening in your life.
I totally agree with you, Sangwadzi Spiwe. Kuti, I think in my life I've had more successes than failures. But because you are hit so hard by something that you have not journeyed before, and
Mm-hmm.
because there's no one to hold your hand and say, look, it's okay, I've been through it also. I found that in my circle, it was now more a story to talk about.
Yeah.
And you tend to shy away because remember, most of your circle are people without businesses, which
I know.
is one mistake that you make. That when you're running a business, then try and also build. You can have this circle, but also have a circle of people who are within what you're doing, who
Mm-hmm.
are running business. Because when you tell them, I'm going through this, they can relate.
Yeah.
But those that are not in business and are full-time employed, they just think you are irresponsible, your decision making,
Mm-hmm.
wow, is questionable. So I found that was the mistake that I made, that my network maybe did not understand what I was going through. So as a result, um, you find that during the hard times, friends are very few.
You
And
know,
so,
how why I think it's so much like that. Even if
mm,
we had to talk to these big time celebrities, right? And they also go through the same thing.
yeah.
And the rest of us, if they had to be concerned about what we think uh about Beyonce or
Mhm.
whoever, celebrity that we know, it's almost like, because we immortalize them, and when something goes not okay, it's very easy to throw stones at them. And
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
if you surround yourself with the same people, you are going to hear a lot of what their opinions are about. Like you said,
Mm,
you failed because poor decisions. Well, how could she
mm,
do that? Ah, mina
mm.
zvavanga vachiita.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
meno zvabhainda,
Yeah.
meno kwazvanga, it's not here who must do this thing.
Exactly.
Ameno
Exactly.
angatimitira izvozvo zvabhainda,
Mhm.
and look at where she is
Mhm.
now. And it feels bad, right? It feels
Mhm.
bad.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it's a
But
common thing.
on a positive note, through those experiences, you realize, I also mention it in the book, that being down and out, it's like a trampoline, because you hit and you bounce back, and you bounce back. People need to fear you, because
I
when you
know.
come back, you are, because you become unstoppable. I
It's a
mean,
force. It's a force.
it's a force.
Mhm.
You've experienced the worst. The only thing can be the
Up.
better and the
Mhm.
best. So I'm grateful for the experience. When you're going through it, you're not
So
happy with the process,
it
but
feels like it's never
afterwards
going to be morning. It just
you
feels
are
like it's
like,
never going to be
thank
morning.
you, Lord, because
Mhm.
had I seen that this is what I was going through, I would have said, no, Lord, I don't want that. And another thing, from being a Christian and being spiritual as a believer, one thing that I picked up, God had already shown me where He's taking me. But remember, you can't explain to anyone that, look, this is temporary, because, people would say all sorts. One would say, there were so many stories, because people don't understand that 1 minute you're here, 1 minute you're down here. But God would have already revealed that, you know what, you know where I'm taking you? This is where I'm taking you. But for that, we're going to build the right version for where I'm taking you. And that right version has to pass through some of the pruning, the crushing, the pressing. And then when you come out, you are a new version, best suit for wherever you've been taken and whatever level you're going to.
How does it feel now that having been a worm and and suddenly the bud is a butterfly? It's there, and you're looking at it, looking back. How does that feel like?
Well, to be honest with you, I feel like I've transformed so much, I've grown so much. And when I say that, I can tell you that during COVID, I don't even know how many, I tried to upskill myself in so many things that I did sit back and say, you know what, now that I've got a doctorate, that's it. I actually even went and did a course with Stanford University in the US on design thinking, which is basically about innovation, right? So through the process, when you're saying how do you feel is a butterfly, the way I'm looking at it is how I've managed to evolve, how I'm looking at doing different things, even just coming out and authoring a book that was part of evolving out of the mess I was coming from. So I actually look at myself and say, you know what? I have actually upskilled myself so much that I'm able to do much more than I was able to do before.
Because sometimes you take it for granted. Maybe that time it was just like you're just doing, the same thing and over. You're running a business, you're doing this, and there are other things to worry about. Did not intentionally think of how you want to upscale yourself.
Yeah. So I've even ventured into property as a property investor, looking at doing property development. So yeah, I've come full circle, 360 degrees, and now I'm ready to, just take off.
That's amazing. Now, tell me, you are one of the how many anthology, and you how many the second volume in how many?
In a 20.
In a 20 people.
Yeah.
And are you the only one from the African continent?
Yes, I'm the only one. The rest are all based in America, and which it has its ups and downs, because then as we were going through it, there was always the element of time difference, because I was the only one this side. But what I was able to do was, remember I talked about creating a network with around the same people that you are doing similar work with. And for me, the most important thing is when I decided to author the book, I've had books in me. I've had those that I've started writing, and like everybody else, it becomes overwhelming, right? Because you're thinking, how am I going to do this? But when I had an opportunity to collaborate, for me, I thought immediately, this is what I'm going to do as my initial first book, because it will give me an opportunity to learn. It will give me an opportunity for shared responsibilities and accountability. And also, I didn't just want to be an author. I wanted to come out with some sort of credibility or building a brand. So one of the beauty that I realized is through the journey, I was also taught how to become a bestseller. And I felt that with my career path, also being a consultant, also coaching business people. After all this experience, what you can do is to hold other people and coach them to greatness in their businesses so that they don't have to go through the same pain that you went through. So I realized because of that, I needed to be part and parcel of a collaboration so that I could build on those things before I can start, writing my solo books on my own.
What's the next phase? What are you up to?
I've been writing a lot of business books. I have two that are coming up. One is basically based on how your routine will result in your success or define your success. But I'm calling it Millionaire Mindset because I look at myself and I say, I'm only here to build millionaires and women, female millionaires, and I'm going to do that. I've already started the process, and I know a couple that are in the pipeline of making it. So definitely, whatever I'm focusing on, even my programs, are aligned to building people to those figures that everyone gets scared of.
Don't leave me out, because I think I look very good as a millionaire. You never know. You never know, Jessie. You never know. That's brilliant, because it actually brings the best of you by bringing the best in some people. That's how I've always defined success. I mean, it can't only be success by you wearing your crown, but to me, become a better queen by adjusting another queen's, adjust her crown and let her look good. And I think it's very important at this time in our African setting to empower each other, because I think gone are those days where we actually always waited for people to come from outside to show us that we can. And when one can, you can't go up the ladder without holding the other person's hand. And so such platforms and such initiatives, they go a long way, and that's exactly what we are. And I enjoy listening to these people's stories, because there is so much more than them just talking. We've got to think of the backstory. What's the backstory, and what is it going to do after, after you wrote your book, after you've experienced this with other people who can hold your hand and make you stand and say, hey, yes, I can, so such big plans are amazing. So are you still based in South Africa right now?
Yes,
Any plans of doing Zim?
Yes, definitely. Zim is a market that I can never leave behind, because I'm born, bred there. And I also believe Zim made me who I am today. All the successes, we can't talk of them without Zim. So definitely Zim. And I do have a few women that I'm coaching in Zim. And they're doing great stuff. The feedback has been really great, because when you've walked the path, you become a mirror to somebody else, because then if they're experiencing it, you can tell them what not to do. If they haven't experienced it, you can tell them what to avoid. So I think I've become more effective in terms of just sharing and transforming other people's lives. You become more effective because it's a journey that you have walked through and through. So Zim, definitely. And I do have some women that I'm actually coaching and mentoring at the moment.
That being said, who have been your mentors yourself? Who are the people you always, looked up to, or who have had a major impact on your life?
You know what? I've had lots of mentors. After realizing that, to walk the journey, you have to have you can't walk it alone. You have to have someone holding your hand. So when it comes to authoring, I've mentioned that Coach Stacy Bryant is my number one coach, very knowledgeable. And one of the things that I've done is one thing that I just discovered about business also, this is from my angle, business is very spiritual. It doesn't matter what you believe in. Everyone coming to the table as a business person has their own belief system. That's why you find there's certain practices. Let's look at the positive one, the Jewish. They have a certain way of doing business from a spiritual angle. So when I realized that I have a spiritual mentor that can help me navigate from prayers to just, you know, people laugh at the prophetic ministry. I hope I'm not bringing a lot of dynamics into this.
No,
but
it's your story, it's your stage.
Yeah, even if you read the Bible, God is very clear that you need a prophet to help you navigate. Even when he's talking about aspire for spiritual gifts, especially the gift to prophesy. I feel because of the dynamics of business, it is a world where you need you yourself to be able to prophesy for your business, to be able to make decrees for your business, so that you know your path, you are very clear and focused in terms of what you want to achieve. So because of those dynamics, I have had to bring in the spiritual mentors to help me navigate that space. Then I've got mentors for especially when it comes to running a business. I do have mentors that I look, there are those that I look up to. There are those that are mentoring me at the moment. Then I also read widely, because you can get mentored through books. And so if you were to ask me who's mentoring me now, for now, there's a lady that I have been focusing on who's mentoring me through her programs, and it's called Faith Figures. So it's basically building millionaires, but using the word of God, running godly businesses. And she has impacted me significantly, because just her platform, and she's opened up also for a group of women, and the way they share the stories, the way they open, the way they willing to give contracts to people to say, this is how you get a big contract. It will help you structure it. It's amazing. It's just free information that you can get, but you're able to build yourself. Yeah.
Because I think it's very important, even for those who are less religious, maybe, and maybe spiritual, in the sense that they believe that the universe, you can attract a lot from the universe if you still your mind and you focus on it over and over and over. It then can become real. It can become real, and I think it's any which way you look at it, really, for anything to manifest, it needs a certain level of concentration and total belief in it. So for those who are Christian, they get together with other prayer warriors, and they pray, and they focus on it until it happens. I always think of my mother. My mother was a very prayerful woman, deeply prayerful. I can tell you all her life. And she told me when before I was born, because she had my two brothers, and for 10 years she tried to have children and nothing happened. And she told me, I spoke to God. She didn't say I prayed. She always used to say, I spoke to God every day. Every morning and every night. And I don't care whether you believe in Christ, you believe in the Bible, whatever, but I'm telling you what happened to me. I talked to God for 10 years, and you came. And you know, I laugh about it, but
yeah, miracle baby, right?
I know, and I can't think of anything deeper than that. I mean, a
Yeah.
deep conviction in something that it has to happen, and I know I don't have power to do it, but I will talk to the universe. I will talk to God. Well, she didn't say
Yeah.
universe; she believed in God.
God. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know, it's I totally understand you when you say that you need supports and people who also believe in what you're thinking and really believing it until it manifests.
I'm telling you.
Mhm.
And I respect every other belief system. A
Mhm.
person will do what works for them,
Mhm.
depending on how you were raised or
Mhm.
your experiences in life. But the common denominator, you have to believe in something. You
Yeah.
have to believe in something, especially when you're running a business, but you just choose what you're going to believe, and
Mhm.
that will give you the edge, that will give you the push, because some days are going to be hard. You need to be motivated in a way that the reason why I'm on this path is because of one, two, three, four. Yeah.
And everything fits into a puzzle. I really think so. I'm a true believer in every little thing that happens in life. It fits into a
True.
bigger puzzle and bigger picture,
Yeah.
which you might
Yeah.
not see it ipapo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you look back out, but what was going on? But you know, you stick with it. Well, I'm sure in business you just have to stick with it. You know,
True.
you
True.
don't know what's around the corner, but it's there.
I actually agree with you when you
Mm.
say everything fits into a puzzle.
Mm.
I remember when I was working for the bank, and then I had this project to come up with a product, right?
Mhm.
And I started doing my research. Those days in the banking sector, there was a category or segment called private banking clients, right? And so I was tasked to set up one for the bank. But after doing my research, I looked into it and I said, we're not going to call it private banking. We're going to call it wealth management. That was uh, like 12 years ago,
Mhm.
right? 12 years ago, people were not using the terminology wealth management in Zim at all. It was
Mhm.
always private banking, private. So we did set up and the wealth management center, it's still running for the bank right now,
Mhm.
and the most solid entity for the bank. But now, the reason why I'm sharing this story, my story about creating wealth for people started then 12
Mhm.
years ago. But right now, I'm sharing with you creating wealth for female entrepreneurs. And so everything adds into a puzzle. I didn't
Mhm.
even know why, and I did it with such great passion. If you were to ask anyone, they'll say she single handedly set up that thing, including naming it, including what products should be in it. But I think that was preparation for what
Yes.
I'm now doing for female
And you had
entrepreneurs.
no idea then. You
I had
absolutely.
no
And I think
idea.
I'm just assuming it probably gave you so much pride and joy that I did it, you know, that I've done this. But for you to funga kuti, what's the bigger picture? How is it going to
Mhm.
pan out? What's the trajectory of
Mhm.
what I have done
Mhm.
right now?
Yeah.
But just trust the universe, and to trust the
Yeah.
process that, you know, if this is good, better is going to come.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally agree. You,
Oh.
I mean, you trust the law of attraction. They talk
Mhm.
about it that way. That whatever you attract, you will continue to attract. So
Mhm.
I feel that that was preparation, and now the real thing is coming.
You know, today's program was different. I see people wakanyarara vari kungoteerera. It's almost like we have interviewed, we brought in somebody, inspirational speaker, to talk to us on what we can do or what needs to do. It's almost moved away from the book that you wrote. You know, it's drifted towards what do we need to do to you know, to keep going. And I think if I'm speaking on behalf of these people, we all agree with the this is amazing. This is powerful. This is inspirational. This motivates you, and you look at it. Yes, would like more people to write books. Would like more people to write books. But I also have a saying that whatever is for you, you know, if it's meant for you, if the universe has it, if it's got your name on it, it has a way of finding you.
Yeah.
And it might take years. When you want it to happen, you don't know. Sometimes you don't even know what it is that needs to be happen. But if it's yours, it has a way of finding you. And look at you now. You were, you know, trailblazer right from the beginning, from ever since I've known you. And it gives me so much pride when I see you young girls, you young people, being where you are, considering you just started off just like ordinary people. Just like ordinary people. Thank you, Jessie. Jessie, thank you so much. I don't know what else you need to tell us today before we wind up. It's amazing. Look, we only have 10 more minutes to top of the hour, but the time goes so fast. Kana muchitaura nyaya muchibuya. Mupenyu muno tikubhuya
tichibhuya nyaya
tanga tiri kubhuya nyaya hai.
dziri kukwata nyaya.
Eho.
Okay, so maybe getting back to the book, just for those that are aspiring to be authors, maybe we can talk about that. Well, people ask, how do I do it? And obviously, like mentioned before, it might seem like it's overwhelming, but one of the things that worked for me and that works is just start writing. Just have a book that you write. It doesn't matter whether it's not flowing, just write whatever you feel like. And when I say just start writing, dedicate even just 15 minutes a day or 30 minutes a day. Just write what you're thinking or feeling. It should not be thematic or whatever until you finish that first draft. Then you can go back looking at it, that how can it be thematic. And then the other thing that really helped is there's a lot of information out there, like a lot of groups for writing or writing clubs. And the beauty of what COVID did is what used to be not accessible, like from a global international perspective, you can now access. So you can belong to any writing club, whether locally or internationally. Spend time just in those platforms because they share a lot of information. They have a lot of workshops. And that can help you just to build on the confidence that, you want to start writing. Then another pointer is having a writing buddy. That is the best. Writing buddy, it can be one, it can be several. You've heard when we've shared Kuti Isustakatanga through collaboration. And I think also the same thing with Sangwazi Spiwe. Can you see how I'm saying?
You're doing well.
Wakatango with that, it's an easier step because then Mrukuita Makawanda and you're able to track each other, accountability. And there's a joy when you finish a project from start to end. When you see your product, to be honest with you, it does something to motivate you to do even better things because you're like, this is how I started. And it started as just pieces of paper. And now you're seeing it in a book. Now you're hearing the feedback of the people who have been impacted by what you've written. To be honest with you, that just does something in terms of uplifting you as a person. Then lastly, keep a journal. Journal. Because one thing I've realized when you're writing, remember writing can take anything. Some can do it in a month, days. Some can do it over a year. The longer it takes you, you're going to see your pattern of writing changes. So when you maintain a journal, you can maintain the conversations you're having with people, the people you're interacting with, because those are going to influence even your writing and your style. So you need to be able to track that through a journal, and it's important to always keep a journal. Yeah. So I think those are the few things I can share to just help people who want to start writing their books.
That is wonderful, Jessie. I don't know how to thank you for spending the afternoon with Sangwadzi. Nevateereri vedu vanenge vachititeera ava tichiteerera nyaya dzinoempower, nyaya dzinotipa kuti tichinje. We have to be constantly changing, right? And in the my conversations, there are other nuances which you might overlook and maybe reflect after that and say, those are nuggets of wisdom that I could go into and follow through myself. You tell yourself, maybe I could. And yes, you can. And then one day, boom, you'll be an award-winning author, or you've got your own book published. It's anybody can do that. And thank you so much for spending the afternoon with us. Uchititaurira about your book, Broken Crayons Still Color, and indeed they do. Just because you feel broken and it's just not happening right now doesn't mean you are not a canvas where beautiful colors can come. A whole lot can come out of you, and don't ever underestimate your age. Should never be a limit as well. Your marital status should never be. I used to like writing, but since I got married, the children, this, you have a life other than your marital status. You've got a life other than what's going on. A bend in the road is not the end of the road. Things, remember, it go south, sideways, or whatever. But you know what? There's a beautiful canvas up front.
Yeah.
On that, thank you very much. Wangwachititera, Tarisai, Rachel, Michelle, Marigold, Shivai, nevamwe wakawanda around the world vachazoona ni vachiteererawo zvazvitaurwa naJessie Muzvidzwa pano pakanoyiwa nyai broadcast. Tinokutendai. Ndini Sangwadzi Spiwe Kachidza Mapfumo. Ndinokuonai next week. Ndinodaira next week tiri kuita program yedu musi weSaturday. Tine problem kana tine maguests ari kuZimbabwe. There's problem with network, and this guy andiri kuda kudaidza he advised me that Saturday will be better because network yake inomboita haikona mushe musi weSunday. So I will be posting on Facebook on who is going to be our next guest next Saturday. If I'm doing Saturday and Sunday, I also will let you know, but I will see you. Tokuonai pamugowera tiri kubenuka. Ndini Sangwadzi Spiwe Kachidza Mapfumo. Muwane zuva rakanaka.